Hey Kyle, thank you for reaching out to me and sending me your videos for an eye lesson here. I think you've got a great swing. I think there's some things we can definitely clean up to help you with your improve your ball striking, especially from a consistency standpoint. But overall, I think the foundation is there for pretty good building blocks. So I want to start by just kind of giving you sort of an overall description of what I feel like are kind of the issues in your swing. And I'll start by first explaining sort of a concept here. And that concept being that, you know, just like every object in the world, that exists, that object has mass, and our bodies are no different. So our bodies have weight and mass, and because of that, they have a center of mass, and that center of mass is basically where we find balance. And if we look at your video here from the face on, we could say that generally the body's overall center of mass is going to probably be somewhere around where the belly button is. Um, Somewhere in this ballpark over here. If you look down the line, because we've actually added some forward bend to the torso, we've tilted the torso over, that balance point would actually kind of move outside of our body a little bit. So it'd probably be, out in front of us, something like that. Now, the reason why I'm explaining this to you is that you've got some balance issues in your golf swing. And those balance issues create sort of a cause and effect relationship throughout the course of your swing. So if I start your swing here on the left back, I want you to notice a couple of things. So the first thing is watch the movement of your head. So it moves down and out toward the golf ball. Okay, and there's a couple of key reasons why your head is moving down and out toward the ball. So the first key reason why is, number one, the rate that you are extending the trail knee or the trail leg is way too abruptly. I'm a big fan of the trail leg losing flex and extending in the course of the backswing, but the rate that occurs has to be managed, and that's the first issue that I see. And from the the face-on view over here on the right, oops, you'll notice that as your right leg is extending, your left knee pretty much isn't moving. It's still out here in this direction, pointing over here somewhere, and the left knee should be rotating internally, moving much closer to the right knee during the course of the backswing. So we have this combination going on here of essentially the trail leg extending at a much too abrupt rate, and the lead knee gaining flex and bending out in the direction of the golf ball. And what that's doing is the excessive straightening of the right leg and the excessive flexing of the left leg is causing your pelvis to tilt and lower in this fashion too abruptly, which causes your torso to tilt too abruptly. So you have too much left side bend nearing the top of your backswing. So the body is going to always try to find equilibrium. So think of it as, I'm throwing myself out of balance here toward the golf ball in this direction, and so therefore I'm going to try to find a way to balance myself out, which would be moving back away from the golf ball in the downswing. And you can kind of see that if you look at it through that lens. Out of balance toward the ball, pulling back, moving away from the ball on the way down. Now, those are the obvious things that we can see. There's cause and effect reasons why you're doing those things. So once we get this club to the top of your backswing, I want you to watch how the center of mass of the club moves in transition. And when I say center of mass, I'm basically just talking about a point along the shaft somewhere right here. And that's where the club would find balance. Some people refer to it as a steep shaft or a steep club. Some people refer to it as a shallow club. But I want you to note how your club works in a steep fashion in transition. And because we don't see that center of mass moving back behind you in a really, really shallow fashion, we can assume that the hands are applying a strong kind of downward force on this grip. And when you think about that, if you look over here on the right, watch all of the lateral motion that's occurring, strong lateral slide that's occurring in the downstroke. You can see like your head moves a mile forward in the downswing here. And when you watch good players, their hips might move a little forward, but their heads don't move down and forward like yours is. So there's a strong push out of the ground off of this right foot that's pushing everything. It's pushing all of your centers toward the target. And this is a problem, because this is going to facilitate this strong downward force that you see on the handle over here. And therefore there's not going to be enough of a shallowing move for you to be able to maintain your body's tilt and inclination to the ground. Therefore you're going to need to stand up, get that club back behind your hands here, and raise that handle to be able to deliver the club head to the ball from an inside kind of shallow fashion. So no matter what your swing philosophy is, every good player finds a way at this last parallel to get that club head some amount back inside their hands so that they can deliver the club from a shallower inside delivery position. Every good player does that. The problem is you're having to compromise the movement of your body in order to achieve that. And so if we just look at a comparison really quick, so I don't like to do too many comparisons with tour players here, but your build is very, very kind of similar to Adam Scott's. So I'll use Adam Scott as a model here because he's good at golf. And he's had a great swing for a very, very long period of time. But I basically want you to pay attention to the balance. You don't see his head moving down and forward toward the golf ball. And I want you to watch the center of mass of the club in early transition of how it moves back around behind him in a shallow fashion. So if we look at the pitch of his shaft at about lead arm parallel to the ground, we compare it to the pitch of your shaft, you can see that there's a dramatic difference in the steepness of those shafts. So you should probably be somewhere in about this ballpark at this point. And imagine how you would then move and rotate your body and maintain these tilts and stay bent over and not have to raise that handle through impact. So when we get to cause and effect, I'm asking myself, okay, why does he have such a strong down? So your club is steep in transition right here because you have a strong downward force on the handle. You're really pulling down on this grip. So I start to go, okay, why is he pulling down on the grip? Well, you're pulling down on the grip because you're sliding your entire body forward in the downswing. And here's that slide again. So everything pushes forward. We're pushing hard off of that right leg. As you do that, you have to release your wrist angle soon. Causes a high ball flight with a lack of club face control. Okay, so that's all coming, all that release pattern is all coming from the fact that you're pushing off of this right leg, shoving your body centers forward, pushing off diagonally like this instead of rotating. And that push off is affecting this downward force on the handle, so the club can't shallow. Now once the club can't shallow, you know it's steep, you're going to start backing away from this golf ball with your head and your upper body to start raising that handle to get that sweet spot back behind your hands again here. And I think it all stems from your setup. I think it all stems from the imbalance in the setup. So, number one, I would slow down the rate that I'm extending. Number two, I would have the left knee moving inward toward the golf ball. And if you want a good example of that, probably use someone like Sam Snead. Notice how the pelvis is turning freely, trail leg is gently extending, and the left knee is internally rotating. And then from there, you're going to see a huge rotary movement of everything unwinding. You're not seeing a bunch of slide. His head is not moving forward like yours is. The head actually stays back as the hips move forward. That's a key element to the club shallowing because it creates tilt in the spine. The tilt in the spine is what allows that club to lower down behind you and get into a much more shallow position. So hopefully this clears up kind of the cause and effect relationships of starting in your setup, getting out of balance in the setup, creating an urge to have to move away from the golf ball in the downswing, pushing off your right foot to slide forward to get that club to shallow behind you because of the strong downward force on that handle. If you have any questions about this, please feel free to reach out for any clarification.